Everyone wants to have $1 million or more in their TSP once they retire. So people save and invest aggressively and have a sense of accomplishment when they meet this commendable goal. And while it's great to achieve this, we've seen far too many federal employees that fail to do the next step to help make sure that they don't ruin all of their hard work. Today, we're gonna cover one of the most powerful strategies that you can implement in your retirement plan to help make sure that you can keep more of your hard-earned money. If you look at your pay stub, or if you're retired, your first pension payment, you'll see that there's both a gross number and a net number. The gross is what you earned, and the net amount is minus things like taxes, your FEHB contributions. If you're still working, you might see TSP contributions as well. So the net amount, which is what you receive in the bank, is reduced from what you earned. And if there were things that could help you increase the net amount that you take home, wouldn't you want to know about them? Now with your salary, it's a little harder, but in retirement, the same is true for your investments. When you're retired, you've got a lot of control over how you design your income systems, which influences how you pay taxes. And depending on your design, you'll either pay more or less in taxes. For example, let's say we have two families, each of them with $1.5 million in their portfolio, and each one of them is taking out about $5,000 each month. Family one may have realized a full $5,000 in income tax because maybe they took it from something like their traditional TSP, where everything is considered pre-tax. So after all of the taxes are paid, maybe they walked away with something like $3,500. Now, family two is more strategic about how they generate their income in retirement. So maybe they only take $2,000 out of the TSP that's traditional, and keeping the tax rate similar, maybe they take home about $1,500 for that month. And then for the other $3,000, maybe they took that from their other kinds of accounts, so individual, joint accounts, trusts, etc. Now remember, that means it's not subject to ordinary income tax and would be under capital gains taxes. So if $1,000 out of that $3,000 were actual gains, then we could be looking at as little as $150 of taxes on that full $3,000 distribution. So in terms of total taxes, family two paid $500 plus $150 for a total of $650 of taxes for that month, while family one paid a full $1,500 in taxes for the same amount of money. That's nearly $1,000 a month in extra taxes that family one had to pay simply by maybe not having the right strategy in place. Now, just keep in mind that capital gains also has state taxes if that's applicable to you. Now, there are other ways that this can impact you, and this next one might be even more impactful. Many federal employees don't do enough planning around their RMDs, or required minimum distributions. This means that they could be stuck paying taxes at a higher tax bracket for the rest of their life once those RMDs begin. In this graphic, we have an example of how neglecting this kind of planning can be absolutely tragic for a family. We can see that RMDs have a compounding effect which impacts families multiple times throughout their retirement. Here we see that RMDs begin pushing this family into a higher tax bracket, and over time it pushes them into pretty high brackets later in life. That's not the only problem they experience. By neglecting this planning, they also eventually run into a net investment income tax, which is a surcharge tax, and it's on top of the other taxes that they're already paying. Not to mention, we also have Medicare premium increases along various different places, and then possibly even the widow's trap, which is when a survivor is stuck with similar RMDs as when their partner was alive, but now they're under single tax brackets, which means their tax rates are much higher and they have a lot less deductions. And honestly, I don't blame feds for not doing this kind of planning. The tools that are required to really get ahead of this successfully can be expensive, so most people end up never doing it. And the best time to deal with this is in your early 60s, when you still have a lot of runway to spread out these various strategies that we use to help keep your taxes as low as possible. Essentially, the longer you wait, the more you're likely to pay in taxes throughout the course of your retirement. We've seen strategies be brilliantly successful for families who use them early enough and were able to save hundreds of thousands in taxes throughout their life. And if you're already working with an advisor and this is not the kind of planning that they're doing with you, then I encourage you to bring this up to them. This is one of the most valuable services that an advisor can and should be providing to their clients. Now, there's a couple of core planning strategies that we can use to help protect against this. And before I jump to those, if you've learned anything new today, let us know by hitting the thumbs up on the video. All right, the first strategy that you can use with this is especially helpful if you don't need all of the RMD that has to come out. There's something called a qualified charitable distribution, which allows you to take money out of your retirement accounts and send them directly to a qualified charity. Doing this satisfies your RMD, but also means that you don't pay the taxes on the amount that goes to the charity. So if your minimum withdrawal amounts are more and above and beyond than what you actually need to live, then this is a way that you can consider reducing your taxes and keeping yourself out of those high brackets. Now, the other and more impactful way is by doing some Roth planning. Now, this one you want to start earlier in your retirement, or early 60s if you can, because that's when you enter what we call your tax planning window. Here's how this works. When you first retire, your income goes down, right? Because your salary is no longer being earned. Your first pension may kick in, which is considered taxable, but for the most part, you're likely generating less taxable income than you were the year prior. And we'll assume that this is the timeline of your life. At some point, you're gonna hit your RMDs, or required minimum distribution, age. These days, it's 73 or 75 years old. Depends on when you were born, so it could be sooner than that. But if you'll notice, something is happening here. Your taxes are going down when you first retire, and then they're going back up when you start your RMDs. So that means that this window in the middle is what we call your tax planning window. You might have a really great opportunity to be doing Roth conversions or other strategies while your taxes are low, because at some point, if you're projected to have a higher tax bracket at RMDs, then why wouldn't you pay taxes when you possibly might be in lower brackets until then? Most importantly, this money now gets to be tax-free and growing and compounding for you, completely tax-free. If you can do that early enough in retirement, you can really set yourself up for success later in life. Now, you'll notice that a lot of the strategies that we talk about utilize the Roth or Roth planning, Roth conversions. And if you want to know when you shouldn't be using the Roth, then click on this video on the screen or in the description below, where we cover the circumstances where you might want to avoid using the Roth. Share this video with someone you know that's close to retirement. And if you're retired or close to it too, then subscribe to get our weekly videos on making a better retirement plan. Until next time, stay wise and stay wealthy.